Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee, so welcome. Today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday. Woohoo! Thank goodness. Here in the US, every week seems to get longer. It is February 7th. And I have lots of things to tell you about today. First, I want to gripe ever so slightly that I think it's Chrome. I think Google Chrome is doing this where they are resetting my input volume. It took me 3 times to get this going so that it's loud enough so that those of you who tell me it's not loud enough have plenty of input volume. They really did not want me to change that. I'm considering going back to Firefox and keeping Chrome in my back pocket for things that will only run on Chrome. But I was reading that Firefox is a nonprofit and not funded by a billionaire. And since we are in the position of fighting the billionaire oligarchy now, with no other guardrails on our rapacious government, something to consider. So I think I'm going to try that. We'll see what happens. Other things. So I have lots of things to tell you. I think I said that already. One thing is, I've mentioned, regular listeners know that we are building the casita for my mother and for other purposes. I think someday in the future I might host like writing retreats. People can come and stay in the casita with our amazing views and wonderful, usually peaceful countryside, and I can mentor you on projects. So that's something I'm looking at down the road. But for now, it's very noisy. I will post a picture. It's coming right along. They're doing all of the hammering and nailing now, and yeah, it's amazing how fast they're going. But I had complained to my editor and agent and so forth, as one does. I mentioned it in an email, and they're all like, "What is this casita? Tell us about it." So I ended up telling them all about it. But I was on a call with Agent Sarah Wednesday morning. We did our annual New Year's planning chat. I know I've mentioned numerous times that one thing I love about Sarah is that she does this annual New Year's planning chat, and she does the whole vision board, and she's like, so what things do we want? What ideal things do we want to hit? I should mention that we are out on submission with both Among the Daughters, the feminist horror revenge story, and Sex, Lies, and Ley Lines. They're in the hands of an editor right now, so we'll see what happens. They're on an exclusive with one editor right now, and the savvy among you could probably guess who that is. It's a courtesy thing. And then if that editor doesn't want the stories, then we will go wide on submission. So lots of things happening. I also got interest on German translation rights for Never the Roses, so that's great. Oh, and my assistant editor, Diana, sent a thing showing that Never the Roses is the among the most requested books on NetGalley right now. Pretty cool, huh? So anyway, I was on this planning chat with Sarah, and we were on the call for like an hour, 15 minutes. And at one point she paused and she goes, "Is that your construction outside?" And I'm like, yeah, it is. She's like, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "You thought I was just bitching," which I was, but it's really loud. On Monday, I think this was after the podcast. Oh, I have to tell you about the editorial meeting, don't I? You all were so nice sending me nice notes. But all you people who told me it was going to be fine, it was not fine. Just saying. Sorry, I have so many things to say today. I'll stop saying that. Anyway, they started like framing in, putting up the frames, like, and I always think of it, like in the Amish movies where they like lift up the thing. It was about like that. And they the outlet, in fact, if you're on video, no, you probably can't see the cords, but there's an outlet right underneath my office window. And so they plugged into that, and they had this air compressor there. This was Monday afternoon, that runs like the nail guns and that kind of thing. And oh my God, you people, it was so freaking loud. I could not hear myself think. It was like rattling because it was right there. It was sitting right there, and it was like bah, 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 and I was like, no, I can't do this. And regular listeners will recall that I'm like trying not to be a diva, but I thought, okay, this is we've hit my threshold. I cannot work this way. And I texted my amazing girl boss of a contractor who is fabulous, Aviva. And I said, Aviva, I really don't want to be a Karen, but can we put that compressor on an extension cord and move it down the portal because it's right under my office window and I cannot hear myself think, and this shall not be born. And she is so sweet. She immediately replies, which I love about her, and she says you could never be a Karen, which I appreciate because I feel like I do have great Karen potential. She said, I will bring an extension cord in the morning and have them move it. And I was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I only have to put up with it for a couple more hours. But then 5 minutes later, the couple of the guys come up on the portal and they move it and it goes away and I can think again. And so I texted her and I was like, oh my God, they just moved it and I adore you. Thank you. And she sent me back a little fairy emoji. And I said, you're magic. And she said, that's the best compliment. I was like, no, thank you. Thank you. Oh, and now I notice we have an outlet. They're plugged into all of our outlets, which sounds sexy, but isn't. So we have this one on the portal. We have one in the secret garden. I opened the back gate for them to plug into that, which I notice they've got the air compressor over there on the other side of the house. I feel like this is Aviva's work. I cannot hear it at all. I just hear the thumpings and the sawings, which isn't so bad. And then they wanted to plug into the garage outlet as well. So guess we'll see what the electrical bill looks like, huh? So other pieces of news before I forget, because I actually have them written down. Reluctant Wizard audiobook is now wide. It's up everywhere, including here on YouTube, for those of you who listen on YouTube. So go ahead and start listening. I had to do it in 2 parts because YouTube's decided, and that was a little bit of a delay because I uploaded my 15 hours of audiobook, and after it took forever and they processed, then they said, oh, we're sorry, YouTube no longer allows videos of longer than 12 hours. And I'm like, did you tell me this? They sent me emails that I don't read, so maybe they told me, but I had to then go back and reformat the audiobook and do it in 2 parts. So that's why. So that's up. What else? Oh, Barnes and Noble is doing a promotion. I've been a very bad kitty cat and didn't mention it before today, but all of the books that are on pre-order, if you're part of their special class of people, what is it? I'm looking. It's for 25% off for BNN members, 35% off for premium members. And it looks like the premium members is print pre-orders only, but BNN members is 25% off. And if you put in the coupon code preorder 25, you can get that. And yes, Never the Roses is subject to that. And with that being an expensive print book, that 35% off, if you're a premium member, I don't know what you have to do to be premium. It'd be worth it. Be worth it. So, said I'd share that. Finally, in the news categories, I am participating in this project called Every Girl Deserves a Happily Ever After. It's VOW, VOW, and it's I'm trying to figure out what VOW actually stands for. They've been sending me a lot of stuff too. So that campaign really kicks in next week. I couldn't figure out what VOW stood for. So I've been supposed to watch videos. I haven't. I'm a bad author. I get no cookie, but I am sponsoring this donation drive. It's to end child marriage. So we have a lot of shitty things going on in the US right now. I know that we are all overloaded with existential dread and worried about our democracy being literally dismantled. But this is also a thing, and it is a tangible thing that we can be doing. So I will post more about this next week. But you know, they've got the graphics that they've sent me, which I haven't looked at till just this moment. And you all could do this with me. But 12 million girls are forced into marriage every year. And I don't know if you all followed the news, but the Taliban just passed a law legalizing marriage to girls as young as 9 years old, which is so horrifying. So I'm going to post the link in my show notes for you to donate. And I'm also going to be hosting a giveaway. We'll have that up next week. Assistant Corrine suggested the Chronicles of Desnaria trilogy, which I thought was a great idea because, hey, the protagonist is a very young woman who is forced into a child marriage and abused. So apropos. So I'm going to be giving away a signed print trilogy of that. And oh, that reminds me of one thing. I just remembered I needed to complete the drawing from Monday for Fantasy Romance February, Faro Feb. So we will be announcing that winner or winners. So let's see. That's, I think, everything on my list. Look for more on Vow for Girls next week. And pre-order for Barnes & Noble deal only goes through today because I am, as previously mentioned, a bad author kitty and did not mention it till today. But you get what you get. What I did was I popped off and I asked Corrine to pick the winners on that. So she's handling it as we speak. That's why we love an assistant. Okay, so it's been a week. Feels like it's been a long and busy week. Editorial meeting on Monday. Everybody was very nice, but I won't say they hated the book. But I was despondent after the call. And I've probably got about a month's worth of revision to do on it, which I've been going back and forth on this. I am not often a neurotic writer, even when there's casita building outside my window. But yeah, there's just a lot to do on this book. And as we know, longtime listeners know, I'm trying to finish Strange Familiar also, right? And so like inserting a month's worth of revision in the middle of that was just what I was dreading. After the planning call with Agent Sarah on Wednesday morning, one of the last things I asked her was how she thought that the editorial call went. And because I don't want them to hate me. I want them to love me. And Sarah laughed. She was like, I could tell that you were upset at the end of that call. And she's like, but really, Jeffe, you were way too hard on yourself. And she said you knew it was going to be a collaborative discussion. And that was what Allie wanted to do. And you were trying things and you wanted to see how they landed. And now you know. And she said it was a really productive, positive discussion. And you know what you need to do. And I mean, it's hard to explain because Sarah is lovely. I mean, she is very positive. I mean, like, going through the vision board with me and everything. And like, what do we want to manifest this year? And all of these things. But at the same time, she's like, okay, Jeffe, you need to get a fucking grip, which is probably what makes her a good agent. So yeah, I was pretty bummed on Monday night. And as many of you know, because I know a lot of authors listen to this too, my author friends out there, this is not an easy thing to complain about, right? Because we were on this call for over an hour with Agent Sarah and editor Ali and assistant editor Deanna. And I know that there are many, many people out there, perhaps you, who would, sell their firstborn child to have an hour-long editorial meeting with an executive editor at Tor telling you how to fix your book. And so I am grateful. I totally appreciate my good fortune in having access to this. I love that Ali is so interactive. She sent me a follow-up editorial letter. She said it's her favorite part of the job. I love everything about that, and yet it's still difficult to get past the inherent feeling of that I didn't do it right the first time. I'm much better about that than I used to be. When I was a baby writer, I used to feel like revisions and edits were fixing everything I didn't get right the first time. I used to say that. And I have since migrated. I've become wiser in my old age and experience. Um, but it's still, I don't know, I think that just doesn't go away. It doesn't, you still, I think, and I had brunch yesterday with my critique partner, Jim Sorensen, and his fantastic wife, Ming Lee, came along, who's a kick-ass trauma surgeon, and is so incredibly smart and knows nothing about books and publishing. So Jim and I end up having to explain things to her, which is always interesting what questions she asks. But Jim was explaining to her that I was despondent in part because he said there is a part of us as creators that we still want, when we get feedback on something, there is a part of us that wants them to tell us just how brilliant and perfect it is and that it doesn't need anything. Even though we know, I mean, you just don't get that. You almost never get that. And when you do get it, sometimes it's a lie. Like I had that one editor, longtime listeners will recall that she said the book was so great and she just sent it straight on to production with her line edits incorporated. And that was terrible because, and I said at the time, I know I'm not that great of a writer. It's not a perfect book, but she was a lazy editor and didn't want to deal. So I don't want that either. So the thing is I knew that I hadn't quite landed this book. I was trying something ambitious. I wasn't sure what would work. They came back telling me what did work and what doesn't work. I need to add, well, it was funny because Jim was saying, well, how much revision do you need to do? And I think it's going to take me about a month. And he says, is it, like really substantive? And I said, I need to add a point of view, a POV, I said. And Ming Lee is like, what's POV? And I said, point of view, I have to add a point of view character. And Jim went, oh. And all of you author types out there, you're like, oh, yeah, it's a lot. It's going to take me a while to do. Adding an entire POV is a lot. And Ming Lee, love her. She's great, but she's like, well, can you maybe work with your editor and send her pieces and have her then come back with, whether or not that's working? Because this is very much her perspective, right? As a working with a boss at a hospital, and you would go through this iterative process. And so I was explaining to her all the ways that wouldn't work. And if you are any of you out there interested in hearing why it wouldn't work to do it that way, there's a number of reasons which I laid out for Ming Lee. I'm happy to share, but I think probably a lot of you winced at the suggestion. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. So I'm feeling reasonably zen about it. I figured out that I can spend the rest of February writing Strange Familiar. I think I can get it completely drafted, or mostly, switch over to the revision on A Rose in the Mirror, which is not due till April 1st. Ellie said that she would like it. She would expect it March 17th, deadline April 1st. And after I went back and like figured out what I'm trying to do, I'll probably end up telling her it's going to be closer to April 1st. But then I can, if I can get that revision done, and hopefully Strange Familiar won't take too much revising. I'm going to have probably a couple people read it in between. So I'm going to have to push out release date on Strange Familiar, unless I like really start cranking on it, which is possible, but unlikely. Yeah, it's probably going to get pushed out to being releasing like March 31st, something like that. So that's where we are. Welcome to my world. Bang, bang, bang. Saw, saw, saw. All right. On that note, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday. You all take care. Bye bye.